Click the Groupon link in the description to help the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
Celebrity voice impersonator.
Party people in the place to be, what's going on? It's me. This is spurred on by a conversation that came on Twitter that I was not expecting to have with one Christopher Titus. My history with Christopher Titus starts, as a lot of people in the United States does, with his TV show, Titus, that Fox was too stupid to figure out exactly what to do with and how to sell it and how to keep it going. This is the first season of Titus. The box got lost somewhere in transit. This is the second time I've owned this, because the first time I watched it to the point where I wore it out. This is the third season that is actually autographed by the man. After I saw him, I believe in '08 was his Love is Evil tour. He went around testing that material, went backstage, met him. I told him that his show came on like right at the point where my mom was getting into alcoholism, and he was like getting into alcoholism like it was needlework or something. Like, enjoy the laugh, good guy. I have his picture somewhere on my Facebook page. I've seen almost everything he's done. That one drama on ABC, I liked him in that. I've seen Special Unit, at least the first incarnation of Special Unit. I haven't seen the new version of it. I'm a big fan of his. I followed him on Twitter. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Titus. Fucking love the man. I think he's one of my comedy heroes. He's one of my. I watch his stuff all the time. So, how shocked was I when I went out last night? I tweeted something. I can't even remember how many hours before, about Trevor Noah versus Tomi Lahren. Just saw Trevor Noah versus Tomi Lahren. No one destroyed anyone. Let's not pretend either is a master debater. Calm down, everybody. That, like almost everything else I tweet, including like links to the videos and all that stuff, probably should have, like, I was expecting it to be the end of it. I was expecting it to kind of just throw out in the ether, right, and never hear anything back on it ever again, right? To my surprise, Christopher Titus tweeted back, he shredded. I tweeted back to him, respectfully disagree. He relied too heavily on home field advantage and taking her out of context. Plus, to get into the nuance of their points, 15 minutes ain't gonna cut it. They blew through more points than they actually made. So he replied, he didn't take her out of context. He even played video of what she said. She is ignorant, young, and racist. He handed her her ass. I did not want to do a reply video regarding Tomi Lahren versus Trevor Noah for various reasons, including not the least of which, the core problem that I had with that entire exchange between Tomi Lahren and Trevor Noah, at least the televised version. I believe there was an extended cut that is like on their Facebook thing or whatever, but I'm talking about the 15-minute one that everybody saw and most of the internet was like, he destroyed her! Was they didn't destroy. First off, like I said in the tweet, 15 minutes is not long enough to get into any nook or cranny or bit of nuance that they were talking about in any of the, how many topics did they cover? They had to cover like at least 10 different topics. Like, if they had managed to talk about maybe 2 or 3 things, they probably could have gotten into some nuance. But they didn't. They were talking about probably at least 10 things. Then 10 different things in that 15-minute span. All you're going to get is platitudes and talking points and shit from both sides. So no, he didn't shred her, and she didn't shred him. Like, they were just kind of there. Nobody won. It wasn't that exciting. It wasn't. There weren't any knockout blows. It was just a thing that happened, kind of, that brought Tomi Lahren, I guess, to a more broad audience. Christopher Titus here says he didn't take her out of context. He even played a video of what she said. This is this is why I'm doing the video here, because like you can't go into all the nuances of what they were talking about in the 15 minutes. It's nearly impossible. It is impossible to get into, you know, this kind of debate over 140 characters. So you're just going to get these snippy little things back and forth. Trevor Noah does take her out of context. He doesn't take her out of context when it comes to what she says on her show. But he takes her out of context when it comes to what she says on his show right there in front of her. You go back and you see the video where she says,
I don't see color. I go after Hillary Clinton and she is white as they come.
You don't see color. So what do you do at a traffic lights? I don't believe in that at all. When people
come on, Trevor, like that gets a pithy little applause from the sheep in the audience because they're all there to agree with Trevor Noah. Like you would probably, and even then it's not a completely organic audience, but a more organic audience probably would have been Bill Maher's audience, because you do occasionally hear people in Bill Maher's audience who disagree with stuff that he says. You're not going to hear that in a Daily Show audience. The Daily Show audience are all to that particular point of view. Whether you agree with that point of view or not, that's the kind of audience that goes to that particular show. And that happens on television all the time, by the way. If Tomi Lahren had an audience, her audience would be it would be the same fucking thing. Let's not be the same, regardless of how you feel about the politics personally, it would be the same fucking thing. Change it around to what audience they're trying to reach, and that audience would be in that crowd. So when he says, well, how do you see the traffic, when he does the traffic light bit, first off, it's just 2 drink minimum after all. First off, colorblind people see it's the top, middle, bottom. That's how you figure that out. It's not a bad point that she made, or not a bad thing to say, I don't see color. Like this is part of the problem that people have currently with a lot of what's going on the left. It's the way that they argue. It's the way that they argue. It's the way that they debate. They want to try to get like the pithy things in there, and they're trying to be clever with some of the stuff. Attempted cleverness was dripping from that little comment, and it didn't serve a point. It didn't make him look better. It didn't make her look worse. It was a second-grade response to a comment that she made that didn't do anything for the argument. This was not the verbal equivalent of Rocky versus Apollo. This was a fucking B-League discussion on The Daily Show. Like it wasn't anything world-changing that was said or on either side. Like Tomi Lahren came onto the show and did the same shit she does in all her fucking videos. And Trevor Noah was on his show and did the same shit he does every fucking day on The Daily Show. And by the way, both of them, my opinion of both of them and their videos and a lot of their opinions, tell me something new, tell me something in a smarter way. Like neither one of them outsmarted the other one. When she said, what did the KKK do? And Trevor Noah said, what did the KKK do? Trevor Noah was clearly not listening. He was clearly not paying attention to what Tomi Lahren said literally 2 seconds before. He was only focused on the sentence that this is the fucking problem with a lot of the shit that happens in the goddamn internet age, with a lot of these fucking stories where somebody says something and it's either taken out of context or if the context is completely goddamn ignored. The context of her line was completely goddamn ignored. She didn't just come out and say, hey Trevor, nice to meet you. Hey, KKK didn't do nothing. She said,
and the Black Lives Matter movement is going out with signs saying fry 'em like bacon, F the police, when they're going out saying if you see a white person, target them. That is happening, Trevor. That happened in Milwaukee not too long ago. That is happening. So when that now becomes the narrative and you're starting to loot, burn, and riot, what did the KKK do?
That is not, look, we'll go around in circles. Did you say what did the KKK do?
No, what did they do? When you're saying, listen, Trevor.
Wow.
Trevor, when you're saying, when there are people in the street saying if you see a white person beat their ass, does that not sound reminiscent of the KKK or their motives to you?
The Black Lives Matter movement has a tendency to do thug-like things and beat people up and all this other stuff. And her continuation of that statement was, and what did the KKK do? Comma, beat people up, do thuggish behavior, yada yada, blah blah blah. Was if you ellipses on what did the KKK do, comes back around to what she's saying Black Lives Matter does. Pay attention to what the fuck was said literally the line before. That's what I'm talking about when I said he took her out of context. I'm not saying he took her out of context on her videos. I'm saying he took her out of context while she was sitting there in front of him. He took her out of context in real time. As I'm watching this, I'm like, Jesus. My eyes couldn't roll in the back of my head hard enough. And by the way, again, I have to say this. It is not, I repeat, not because I agree with Tomi Lahren on really anything. I don't see why she's so goddamn... Actually, I do. She's young, she's hot, and she's Republican. Like, if Bill O'Reilly had tits, although Bill O'Reilly I've seen argue much better points than Tomi Lahren even argues. Like, I've seen a couple of Tomi Lahren videos, and I'm like, it's fucking stupid. but she's hot and she's young, so she's popular now. That's why she's the equivalent of a fucking Instagram model as far as pundits are concerned. She doesn't bring any goddamn substance to the table. She doesn't actually make all that many good points. And whatever good points she does have are wrapped in this bullshit facade and horrible presentation style and all this other shit. Tomi Lahren is the new age Ann Coulter, except a little bit hotter. Well, not a little bit hotter. She's definitely like... Tomi Lahren's actually hate fuckable. Ann Coulter's not even hate fuckable. Like, Ann Coulter's just goblin. But the thing is, they both function the exact same way. That I don't understand why otherwise smart people don't understand this part of the game. You get all mad when Ann Coulter drops a new book. You get all mad when Tomi Lahren drops a new video. Instead of ignoring it. Instead of not giving it any views, not paying to see her on anything, not watching her while she's on The Daily Show, not giving The Daily Show views on their YouTube channel to watch her get on it. Instead of doing any of those things, instead of paying her goddamn rent, which is what you're doing by giving her fucking attention, fucking ignore her. Shit, that's how the media in all facets goddamn works. If you ignore it, it goes away. If you don't pay for it, it goes away. But you continue to give it attention, and you are going to continue to give Tomi Lahren attention. This is the broader audience, not necessarily Christopher Titus, but we're going to continue to give her goddamn attention, even though if you really look at the substance of what she's saying and the presentation, all that shit, there's nothing special about it. Like, there's nothing new or special about it other than she's a hot 20-something-year-old. In fact, that's part of the problem with The Daily Show right now, is that people are ignoring The Daily Show. They're not giving The Daily Show views. They're not, that's probably why they had her on. The Daily Show's tanking in the ratings. Like, people are shitting all over The Daily Show. They don't necessarily like Trevor Noah in that role or whatever. That's how that works. Don't give it your attention. Don't give it your goddamn money. Don't give it your goddamn views and it'll go away, but you decide you want to give it its views and its attention and all that other stuff. And she goes on The Daily Show, and she is taken out of context in real time. That's all I'm really talking about when I said he took her out of context. He did. He was looking for the jabs, and like I said, he was relying on home field advantage. He could have said she had dirt under her fingernails, and the fucking crowd would have been like, it was like a Jerry Springer crowd, but for fucking super liberals. What I would like to see, people with better points of view, stronger points of view, more facts to what they're talking about, engage in a debate like this. Now, if you want to talk about Trevor Noah's points, like I said before, I don't think Tomi Lahren, first off, was the strongest candidate to go out there and debate him on any of his points. And I don't feel like Trevor Noah was the strongest candidate. Like, they're on the same level, but it ain't up here. It's like middle of the road. Let's talk about what he was rebutting and the police brutality and all that stuff that she was bringing up, or the police attacks on the police and all, and the rioting and all other stuff that she was brought up and he was trying to rebut. The problem is, and one of the problems I have with Black Lives Matter is, unlike other movements in the past, particularly the civil rights movement and the different facets of the civil rights movement, you would have these more radicalized people who wanted to join the movement. And the leaders of those movements pulled those people aside and took them fucking out of the movements. They denounced them. They openly denounced. This is not the way. This is not what we're supposed. You would see them in marches and riots and stuff trying to calm people. This is not the way. This is not what we're supposed to do. This is not. No, you've got to. This is the system that we got to. They kept their stances rigid. This is what we have to do to achieve equality, to get to the level of equality. Yada yada yada. And the problem with the Black Lives Matter movement is they don't outright denounce the shit that happens. Pigs in a blanket frying like bacon, they don't come out and say, fuck that. They're not on TV saying, this is not us. This is us. This is what we're doing. They're not out there doing that. That's part of the problem. They're not out there fucking doing that and shaming those people and making it so when you go to a Black Lives Matter event, if there's a Black Lives Matter protest or movement or whatever, that shit not only isn't welcome, but doesn't happen. They're not self-policing them fucking selves. That's part of the problem with the fucking movement. The other problem that I have with the Black Lives Matter movement is that it's based on police brutality of black people, which is a horrible, horrible thing. But guess what? It's not a color issue. Because the police shoot people of all races if they're fucking poor enough. It's a social economic thing. The problem is police see people in the neighborhoods that they patrol as things, as objects, as less than them, as lower than them. Like they put on the badge, they put on the gun, they put on the fucking blue uniform, and they get this fucking Napoleon complex. They get this fucking paranoia about them that everything's out to fucking kill them. Like especially if it's poor enough. Like it's really, if you look at the numbers, it's really not a color thing. It's a poor thing. It's a social economic thing. It's a Blue Shield thing. It's a matter of police aren't protecting and serving the neighborhoods they goddamn live in anymore. They're driving out to their precincts and policing out there somewhere. So they only see them when they're in that mode, in that shield, in that they don't fucking see their neighbors. They're not pulling over their neighbors for a ticket. A lot of them are fucking cowboys. Living out some goddamn cowboy fantasy. And if you look at who the police department recruits versus who the army recruits versus who gangs recruit, they're mostly the same kind of people. And they're mostly the same people. For the most part, from a lot of the same, it's just a matter of who the fuck gets to them first. And that mentality, they all get guns, they all get fucking superiority fucking complexes, they all get fucking paranoia, they all think they're better than whoever the fuck they're around that's not in the same colored shirt as them. It's fucked up. It's fucked up. And the thing is, Black Lives Matter doesn't focus on that. The Black Lives Matter movement aren't driving for cops to patrol their own goddamn neighborhoods. They aren't patrolling for, or they aren't looking for reforms to how cops are recruited, the teaching that cops are given that not everybody is a goddamn threat. And let's not pretend that cops don't get shot and people, there aren't bad guys out there. There are, otherwise you wouldn't need goddamn cops. But not everybody is that. But they go into literally every situation as if everybody is that. Because, by the way, a lot of these cops come back from the war, like they're veterans, where they're taught in the military. Guess what? Everybody's a goddamn threat, because in the military, especially more than out here in the streets of fucking the United States, they are. There are fucking bombs everywhere and everything, but they come back with that mentality, and it fucking festers, and it creates all this bullshit that we have to deal with as citizens dealing with fucking cops. And they're not trained to think about any nuance of any situation that they're in. They're trained to, either pull that fucking trigger and ask questions later, or letter of the law. They're fucking robots. So somebody else jumped onto the Twitter thing. Kevin J. O'Connor said he was clearly holding back, the opposite of shredding. Plus, she didn't answer the question. I've seen Trevor Noah on The Daily Show and in these kind of discussions. I don't think he was holding back. I think that was him. But the problem was, like I said before, they were trying to blaze through way too many topics as opposed to let's pick 2, maybe 3 that we'll get to in this allotted time. But again, we're talking about a TV show, so they don't give a fuck about nuance. They don't give a fuck about about details of anything, statistics, going back and forth. They give a fuck about talking points and pithy, poppy stuff and getting the crowd to chant and clap and all that other shit. On a more even playing field, if it was like an open debate and you had Tomi Lahren fans and Daily Show fans, who was it? I think it was O'Reilly with Jon Stewart and their debate. That was far more entertaining because they were able to get into fucking details. Whether you agreed with whatever side you agreed with, they were able to get into more details. They were able to actually get into the fucking meat of the goddamn matters that they were talking about. They don't have the chance to do this here. Not in 15 minutes on network TV where commercials have to be cut in and all this other shit. Nicholas Olsen jumped in and said she proves she has nothing new to say and that her biggest issue, originality of thought. I agree with you. I'm not making this, the tweet was not originated for, and I'm not making this video to say that I agree with Tomi Lahren on pretty much goddamn anything. I don't like her. I don't see why she's famous. I think she comes from a place of prejudice. She comes from a place of I gotta be the next Bill O'Reilly or the next Ann Coulter or whatever the fuck, instead of dealing with the issues and the statistics that are actually there. However, the difference is she actually does come with some statistics. Now, again, whether you agree with the statistics or where they come from or whatever, she actually does come with some data. And Trevor Noah didn't really. He didn't. That's the problem. And again, this is the problem that I have with a lot of people on the left when it comes to a lot of these issues, is that they either don't come with statistics or numbers or data or anything, or when you bring up statistics or numbers or data, they say stuff like, fuck your statistics, fuck your data, this is how I feel, and it's like, you gotta deal in the real, though. The problem with a lot of people in more liberal circles is this fucking victimhood complex thing, and it can't be that. Because the problem is that actually takes away from actual fucking victims. So, to wrap back around the Black Lives Matter thing, part of the problem with the Black Lives Matter thing is it perpetuates this thing that black people are fucking victims and are still fucking victims. And the thing is, in most cases, we're victims of a lot of the stuff we do to ourselves, including, but not the least of which, perpetuating this fucking victimhood fucking complex. Because guess what? Like I said before, and like I'll say again, black people are not the only ones getting shot down by cops. Black people are not the only ones getting shot down by cops. So when we make it about us, as opposed to about the constituency, about the fucking public being protected from cops, that's a fucking problem. That's a fucking splintering point. That's a dividing issue, as opposed to an issue that brings people together so that we can actually look at what the real fucking problem is, which is the training, which is where they get these fucking cops from, which is the mentality behind that fucking blue shield of everybody who's not wearing a shield and a fucking badge. That's the fucking problem. To wrap this whole thing up, Trevor Noah is not a master debater. Like I said before, he ain't a master debater. Neither is Tomi Lahren. They're both kind of Bush League when it comes to actually debating actual points. Like neither one's great. Neither one's great at that aspect of their job. They're popular, they're famous, but that doesn't mean they're great at it. It just means they're popular and famous. That's all that means. And when these two came together, it was not a great debate. It was not. This was damn sure not Gore Vidal versus Berkley. Jesus Christ. This was nowhere near that. This was not fucking Christopher Hitchens versus anybody. Hell, this wasn't even Bill Nye versus fucking Ham. This wasn't even that. This was two JV debaters going at each other without a moderator. And one of them having the home field advantage. That's all this was. This was also an interesting bit for me to be able to engage with one of the guys I fucking love professionally. Christopher Titus, one of the guys I admired for not only his hard work, but his thoughts for the most part. And like I said, and part of the thing that I enjoy about him is that I believe he's one of the people who you can respectfully disagree with. You can have this fucking back and forth with, and it'd be all good. I'm still gonna fucking watch Titus. I'm still gonna fucking watch Special Unit. We just disagree on this issue. We just disagree on the, and not even necessarily all the issues that they were, although we probably do, not necessarily all the issues on that they were trying to unpack, but on this particular, the core of this whole thing. Trevor Noah shredded Tomi Lahren, says Christopher Titus. No, he didn't, says me. And not even all the way over here, the Tomi Lahren shredded Trevor Noah, but right in the middle of that, nobody shredded anybody. This was a schoolyard fight where neither person fought. This was a schoolyard fight where, you know, they were kind of just like, this wasn't the Thriller in Manila. This wasn't even really a cat fight. This was a shoving match between two 5-year-olds. Like, it wasn't. I would love to see a heavyweight debate between two actual heavyweights about this kind of fucking thing. I would love to see that. It was a pleasure being able to reach out to you, Christopher Titus, and the party people, who I'm going to ask right now to let me know what you think down there in the comments section. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about any of this, all of this, or none of this down there in the comment section. Take your time. Type a fucking thesis down there in the comment section. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings. I fucking read every comment that I'm able to see. I don't delete anything. I love to engage with you. Engage with me on fucking Twitter, like Christopher Titus, of all fucking people, did. Facebook, whatever. I would love to hear your point of view regarding this this debate between the two of them and the issues within that debate. Tell me what you think about Christopher Titus and his shows, and his career and his stand-up and all the other stuff. His podcast, I listen to his podcast all the time. Like, tell me what you think about all that down there in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe. Do me a favor. Click the links in the description. If you're watching this on VidMe, there's a Tip the Creator button just below the video. Helps keep the lights on at the party. Hitting the eBay, Amazon, Groupon links help keep the lights on at the party. Grabbing some 2-drink minimum swag helps keep the lights on at the party. And all that, unlike this boring-ass bitch fight of a debate. Oh, and by the way, reach out to Jason David Frank. Try to get him to answer some questions that me and Mike Myers were asking him. All that, by the way, keeping the lights on at the party and reaching out to him, and all that other stuff. Ain't bad. Boom. Boom. Boom.
Zack City, bitch. Zack City, bitch.